are mounting for 007 to be reinvented to either a black actor or a woman, or indeed me at this point. That's how desperate we are.
Well, a casting chief for the franchise has reacted, stating that James Bond must be white and a male, and that Ian Fleming wrote a character, and that's the character that stays.
Yes, that's right. So this morning we're asking, should Bond stay white and male?
Well, let's speak to Tom Pickup, the host of the Really 007 podcast, who joins us now. Morning to you, Tom. What do you think? Should James Bond stay white and male?
If you think about it, Amazon have taken over Bond about a year ago, and they're a big company, aren't they? And this is a risk, isn't it? They don't want to be seen to cast their first James Bond in anything other than the most popular Bond to everybody. So if you're a casting director, like Debbie McWilliams has said, the previous one, I suppose it'd be who would be the most popular? What's the safest thing to do? So I think, in other iterations, there's nothing to say he couldn't be anything other than white, but this is the first one back, so I think it would be the safe thing to do. And it has to be a man. That's non-negotiable. I think audiences would instantly be complaining, and they want as little controversy going into this new film as they can. Yeah. So that's my view, certainly.
Now, can we give a counter-argument here? I'm not saying I believe this, but I think it's good to hear both sides of the story. Many people will say, actually, Bond represents modern Britain, therefore it should change with the times, therefore we should look at expanding the casting, look at expanding diversity, maybe have a black actor represent Bond. Would there be anything wrong with that? And I know Idris Elba is a man, Ellie was talking about him earlier on. Many people say he would make a great James Bond. Would there be anything wrong with that?
I wouldn't object to it personally. You're absolutely right when you said before that, of course, Ian Fleming wrote the character as a white British heterosexual man. But things can change. It's been over 60 years since the books were written, so things change on the screen. Now, there was controversy when Daniel Craig was announced as Bond because he was a little bit shorter, blonde hair, and maybe didn't fit that Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan, smouldering, dark and handsome look. So you can change the look a bit if the Bond actor does everything else really well. And it's just putting yourself, it's fighting an uphill battle from the start. What they want, I'm sure, is the common denominator Bond to please all fans. So there's no need to do anything too drastic, but, let's just wait and see before the person's announced. And I think they'll be more interested in getting a famous name, won't they, to try and get the younger audience back.
So, Tom, if you were a betting man, who would you say is going to be the next Bond?
Well, the two that the press seem to have got at the moment are Jacob Elordi and Callum Turner. Now, they look a bit different to what we've had before as well. Callum Turner's perhaps more boyish, of course, younger than the other actors. Jacob Elordi is too, and he's extremely tall. So both of them, even though on paper might be more acceptable to audiences because they're quite well known, my choice would still be Henry Cavill. I know he's...
Our viewers are all saying the same thing, Tom.
Early to mid-40s. I know that's very old. I can't believe that I'm saying that these days. But I think Roger Moore was about 45 when he was cast. So I think the problem is they want to do these films, with the actor for like 10 to 15 years. So if you're already that, they don't want you to be 60 by the time you're doing your last Bond film.
Well, Amazon bought MGM Studios, who look after the Bond brand, if I'm correct in saying that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. They have come under criticism for things like their depiction of their writing of a Lord of the Rings series, which many people criticise for being quote unquote woke, shoving diversity down people's throats. Is this perhaps Amazon's got a bit of a habit of wanting to create controversy to stir up attention to acquisitions they make? Is there a risk that they might do something similar here?
Yeah, I think in this conversation, as it builds up, there's going to be these sort of chats about what on earth they're going to do, because everyone's not a clue, have they? Anything can happen. But it's different to Lord of the Rings, of course, because that's like a fantasy world where I suppose the rules are more flexible. Here, we know that this is a British institution. The other characters, of course, have been, other than white, we've had Black Moneypenny, of course, Naomi Harris, the last one. There's absolutely no controversy in that, really. So there's other ways to sort of do that and make sure that the casting is diverse and reflects the period. But of course, the baddie, I don't think we've had a black baddie for a long, long time. What's wrong with that? A woman baddie, absolutely nothing wrong with that either. So I think in the past they might have been a bit scared of doing anything slightly negative in those senses. So Yeah, nothing's off the table for those roles, but I do think Bond. I'd be very surprised if Bond wasn't anything other than a white man who's probably late 20s to mid 30s.
Tom, really good to get your perspective this morning. Thank you so much.
Do you know what one of my favourite Bond moments was? It wasn't actually in any of the movies. It was when the late Queen Elizabeth
yes, the
parachuted in
Olympics. Yes, with Daniel
obviously,
Craig.
it wasn't her parachuting, obviously. I didn't have to say that for anyone to know. But wasn't that just a brilliant moment?
So British.
She was just
one of my
absolutely
favourite
superb.
moments of the late Queen as well.
Yeah. It was just, I think it just made us all smile, didn't it? That moment with her. Brilliant stuff.
Julie's been in touch saying Idris Elba, oh yes, he'd be a great Bond. I'm not sure, I'll be honest, about Callum Turner or Jacob Elordi.
I'm not sure. When either of those two don't do it for me, for Bond. But,
it's not the British gentleman thing.
That's right.
Henry Cavill, I think, is a great shout.
They're trying to go for this more. I think they're going to try and go for this younger, sort of more American style Bond.
No, we don't want that. We don't want that.
No, I'm not a big fan.